Good morrow and fair tidings. I am the Casual King. So we're just gonna get right into this. This is the Studio Ghibli tier list video. Alright, this is a little bit of a labor of love. Alright, I definitely put forth a lot more effort in this video than I have in previous videos, and you'll be able to tell that later on with the little transition segments that I've put in there too. So that's cool. You get to watch that as opposed to just me being really dog shit at the games that I've had for like 8 years in my Steam account. So that's cool. And just a quick little disclaimer, obviously everybody has their own thoughts, their own opinions. Some people are going to think that I should have put a movie higher, some people are going to think I should have put a movie lower. And I just want to say, if you're one of these people who disagrees with where I place these movies, I just want to let you know, you better get your hemorrhoid cream out because it's not going to be a fun time for you. This is actually going to be the first in 4 videos, so if you watch the whole series, you're going to have a one bleeding asshole, so strap in. Anyway, off to the first category, tier. Yeah. So this one's a bit of a cop out. The way it's going to be structured, the way all tier lists are structured, is basically we're going to go from the bottom and then we're going to go up. And this one's just here because it's here. I didn't watch these movies. I have no intention of watching these movies, and that's really it. Actually, this tier actually used to have 5 movies in it, but now it only has 2 because I managed to find 3 of them on a streaming service that I have, which is good because now there's extra content for me to talk about, but it's bad because only one of them was actually good and the other 2 were fucking dog shit. So I don't want to say anything about these movies because I'm just going to be disappointed if I end up saying something wrong. So what I will say is that they are in some way, shape, or form associated with uh, Hayao Miyazaki and Studio Ghibli in some capacity. Anyway, off to the next tier.
But I'm up $200,000. Give me my money. Think I won't manhandle a little boy?
So yeah, I didn't finish these movies, and that's just because I didn't want to. Most of them are not very good. This first one is actually a little bit different from the others because I don't think it's a bad movie. I just think that I'm too old to be watching that movie. And that is My Neighbors the Yamadas. This movie is about obviously the family of the Yamadas, mother, dad, brother, sister, older brother, grandma, and just the little antics that they get up to. And I got like 15 minutes into this movie before I realized that it's just not for me. And that's cool because, like I said, it's for little kids. And I bet if you put this on for your little nephew while you're babysitting him, he'll get bored and fall asleep and stop being a little jackass. So, hey, check this out for if you're ever babysitting. But we'll get into the next movie. Let's see here. That will be. Oh, Jesus Christ. When Marnie was there, I don't like this movie. I actually specifically do not like the main character. So let's get into it. The movie opens with the main character just like drawing, these kids at the playground, and I think their teacher or whatever the fuck walks up to them and is like, "Oh, what are you doing?" She's like, "Oh, I'm drawing," and like, "Oh, that's really good," but she's shy, so she doesn't like it. And then she has a fucking asthma attack and just starts dying, which I don't know, pro gamer move to avoid social interaction. Personally, I gotta try that too, but whatever. She eventually gets checked out by a doctor, and then her legal guardian, who is not, who is a relative, or being paid by their relatives to watch over them, which causes them to be like, yeah, you don't actually give a shit about me. Which, fair as fuck, but still, like, why you gotta be so fucking negative, dude? Anyway, because of her condition, the caretaker decides, hey, it'll probably be best if you go visit your, family in the off in the country because fresh air, you're not in the city as much, your condition will probably improve if you go out there. So she does, and that's where the movie takes place. And this is where her being a bitch comes in. So she moves in with her aunt and her uncle and all that, and her aunt is talking to her neighbor, and her neighbor has a daughter that's about the same age as the main character. I don't actually know her name because fuck that bitch. So she's like, oh hey, like, we have this festival coming up, I can have my daughter, you know, help out your niece, just, be your friend. And like, oh, that's a great idea, not knowing what a little cunt that she has in her house. So then the daughter is like being very friendly towards the main character, always trying to like be like, oh, let's go to do this at the festival, let's do that. And like she's being a little overbearing, but she's still being very nice and like trying to like involve her and everything. And eventually the main character just snaps and is like, look, man, I don't want to be friends with a fat bitch like you. And it's just like, damn, bitch, that's hard. This person is giving you nothing but pure fucking kindness and friendship, and you call him fat and call him a bitch and tell him to fuck off. That's crazy, dude. And then they go to some like abandoned house because the light was on, and then the tide came in, so then they had to be rescued by a boat. And that's as far as I got into the movie, and before I realized I didn't want to watch this movie anymore because fuck the main character. Like, dude, come on. What did she do? Nothing. It's not her fault that you're just a bad person. All right, whatever. Just let's get into this next movie. Fuck. Okay, these aren't. Jesus Christ. I know we were starting from the bottom, but these really aren't the best fucking movies. Okay, only yesterday. Jesus Christ. So, unlike other movies on this tier list, I actually went into this one knowing that it was not going to be good because I watched a video a while back about a guy talking about the Studio Ghibli movies because this is such a fucking original idea I got here. Um, and he got to this movie and I was just like, yeah, this movie fucking sucks. And I didn't want to like that affect my headspace too much, but I got like maybe 30 minutes into the movie and then I started like skipping to like see if the movie gets better, and honestly, it fucking didn't. So yeah, um, the movie's about this, from what I can gather, 27-year-old, you know, female in Japan. And by the way, and she's also single. And by the way, if you're 27 and you're single in Japan as a woman, you're basically fucking barren at that point. Like society has just abandoned you. They think you're a lost cause. They think you're a waste of life because your job should be to make children to then aid the aging population. But at the same time, your job is also to perform your job until you fucking die of like a stress-induced heart attack. So like you gotta like do both at the same time. So this bitch is just failing in two maneuvers because one, she doesn't have kids, and then two, she's taking vacation. So she's fucking up the whole system. But randomly she'll start, reminiscing about the fifth grade, as we all do. And it's not like fun memories from the fifth grade. It's the most mundane bullshit you've ever seen in your life. Which I mean, it's pretty realistic. Like if you're out here reminiscing about your childhood, you're not always gonna be reminiscing about the best moments you've had in your childhood. Sometimes it's just gonna be little moments. Sometimes it's just, oh, I remember one day my mom took care of me when I was sick. That, you know, not like a terrible sickness, but just sick in general. And that's cool if you're like, 80 years old and talking to your grandkids who are not paying attention to you while they're playing on their iPads. It's not good if you're gonna make a feature length fucking movie about it. It's just fucking boring. So yeah, that's what this whole movie is. It's just it's a woman who goes on holiday to then go work in the fields because she doesn't really understand the concept of a fucking vacation, and then is also reminiscing about the fifth grade, the best fucking grade of all goddamn time, I guess. Whoopee. Uh, Cool. Let's get into this last movie of this tier, Earwig and the Witch. I'm gonna be honest with you, I did not fully watch this movie. I got like 8 minutes in, and then I stopped because the art style was just, I didn't like it. Now, for those who don't know, Earwig and the Witch is the first 3D anime movie from Studio Ghibli. The traditionally 2D animation studio, the traditionally hand-drawn animation studio. So this is definitely a bit of a spin in the face, and this is actually the third movie by Hayao Miyazaki's son, Goro Miyazaki, and it's not good. I don't think he got much support from his father on this one like he did for his first movie, or he didn't, I should say. That one's pretty notorious. That's in the next tier, so we're gonna talk about that as well. But yeah, I did not get into this movie. I feel bad. I feel like I should have given up more of a fair shake. I just couldn't. I couldn't look at it anymore. To quote Hayao Miyazaki himself when he was referring to AI, is an offense to life itself. That's probably a little extreme, but I didn't want to watch this movie, so I didn't. And yeah, that's the end of this tier. So let's get on to the next one.
His version of Solitude in E minor. Yeah, E minor, alright, yeah!
Okay, so let's just get into this one. We're gonna cover Whispers of the Heart. This movie is boring and forgettable. That's it. I just watched this movie and I'm honestly struggling to tell you what the fuck it's about. All right, so you got this girl. Um, she likes books, and she's always taking out these books from the library, and then someone else is always taking them out. The same guy before she managed to get her hands on them. So she's like, oh, I wonder what kind of guy this is, and develops a little bit of a crush. And then Jesus Christ. Eventually, at one point, she's supposed to bring lunch to her dad, but then gets sidetracked by following a cat that she met on the train over. That brings her to an antique shop with this character called the Baron, and the Baron is just a little like statue that was created. It's a cat that looks dressed like a little gentleman, and Jesus Christ. Eventually, she discovers she wants to be a writer, because she wants to, be good enough for the guy she has a crush on, because he already knows what he wants to do with his life. Very accomplished. For their age, it's not like this guy's making six figures with a fucking middle school education, like, but he knows what he wants to do. He wants to be a violin maker. So she wants to be like, oh, if I want to find out what I want to be, so that way I can be good enough for that guy. So she decides to write a story about the Baron. And this is another issue I have. If you see like the poster, it shows like obviously her in this nice like flowy dress and then the Baron, flying with them. And that's like 5 minutes of the movie. It, yeah, this it's complete bullshit. Honestly, yeah, this movie, if I had a lower tier, I would put it in it, but this is the lowest that I have. So yeah, this isn't a good movie. The only thing good about this movie is that it then made a spin-off, which is in a higher tier, and that one's actually really good. Like, not really good, but it's a very fun movie. So, yeah, Whispers of the Heart, not very good movie. I would not recommend it. Very boring. And then the next one, this one is easily the most controversial one on here. It's My Neighbor Totoro. I understand this is like Studio Ghibli's like flagship fucking like movie. They've re-released it in theaters like 15 times because that's how much of a cultural phenomenon that this movie is. It fucking sucks, dude. It's so boring. Nothing happens in the entire fucking movie. It's about, this dad and his two daughters, and they move out to the country to be closer to their mom who has some kind of sickness, and she's in some treatment facility that's in this, more like country woodsy area. And the whole movie is just the kids going to school, going home, and occasionally being kidnapped by these whimsical forest creatures, and then that's it. That's the whole fucking movie. Eventually, there's like a scene where it's like, oh, I think the mom's taking a turn for the worse. But then the end of the movie is like, she has her one line that's said to the husband, which is just, I don't even know what it fucking is. That's how little impact this is on me. It's such a boring fucking movie, dude. Like, I watched this probably when I was like 17, and like I was so hyped up because I'm like, oh my god, this is the movie. This is the Studio Ghibli movie that everybody fucking raves about, and it's not good. It's just so fucking boring. It's like My Neighbors the Yamadas. Honestly, if I remade this tier list and I had to rewatch this movie again for the first time, I would put this in the didn't watch category. I want my money back because it's very clearly made for small children, but it's also just so there's nothing that happens. It's so fucking boring. God, I hate this movie. And that that transitions us to our next movie, Tales from Earthsea. This movie is unfortunate. This one is directed by Hayao Miyazaki's son, Goro Miyazaki, and there was a lot of controversy when it came to this movie because Goro Miyazaki was a very, very new at the job. Not very. He's never. I think this is like the first movie he ever directed, and he had like no help from his father, like absolutely fucking none, which is just such a massive dick move on his part. So he was kind of flying blind, and not only that, when it comes to Studio Ghibli movies, a lot of them are adaptations. A lot of them come from manga, novels. A good example is Howl's Moving Castle, and Tales from Earthsea is in a very similar vein to that, and it's adopted from a book series. Now, usually these adaptations aren't like the one for one. Like they're usually pretty loose adaptations. But I think the bigger problem too is that usually those adaptations are like kind of like one-off things, like one book in the series or one manga or like one series of manga. This is a whole book series that they're trying to adapt into one movie, and I just don't think it went. I don't think they did the best. It was really kind of like choppy. You don't really feel for many of the characters. It's just It's hard to really get into. It's a very visually impressive movie. I think it looks absolutely fucking beautiful, but it's just not a very good movie in general. I'll walk you through it. So basically, um, it opens with a scene of dragons fighting, which honestly I have no fucking idea what this scene has to do with anything, but I think it's just to show so that the sailors can have their moment like, ah, dragons, they're not supposed to be in this area. And then, while they're sailing the seven seas, and then the dragons are still fighting. So I think that's more so to get the idea of obviously the world's in disarray, which it later mentions like crops are dying, people are leaving their land, slavery is rampant, the wizards and sorceresses are losing their powers, so it's kind of like it feeds into the world is kind of becoming more corrupt narrative that shows, but it's still just kind of weird. Um, I don't know. I still don't get that scene. And then it shows the king of some kingdom. He shows him being a good king, trying to solve their issues again with the famines and the world going to shit. And then he gets killed by his son, the prince, Aaron. And then Aaron steals his father's sword, which you later find out is actually magic, and only if you're powerful enough can you actually use the fucking thing. And then it goes somewhere else. It shows to like a guy, rowing a boat. This guy ends up being revealed as a wizard. His name is Sparrowhawk, and he's honestly the best character in the movie because he's actually the only one who isn't a complete fucking douchebag, or just he's the only one who's actually a character, and that's it. So Sparrowhawk eventually runs into Aaron because he's being chased by wolves on his kind of like deer horse thing or whatever. They call it a horse. It's not a fucking horse, but he's about to be killed by them, and then he's gonna fight them, but then he decides to stop and is like, I guess this is how I die. But then Sparrowhawk does a spell, and then the wolves run off, and then he saves Aaron and basically links up with him for the entire movie. Like he's trying to like help him out. So they go to this town that like looks like the ruins of like ancient Rome, but like it's only built of society on those ruins, but also like European too. It's weird. It's cool, but it's weird. And so they're going through this town, and it's like the town of like Sodom and the Bible. It's all filled with sin. They're selling just people, being frauds, selling slaves and all that. And eventually, Aaron has another fucking PTSD attack because he's being tortured by his bad thoughts. He's trying to keep the beast inside. He's not doing a very good job of it. Uh, Eventually, him and Sparrowhawk separate because he decides to take a break and just kind of like sit up in like this terrace area. And then Sparrowhawk's like, "All right, I'll meet you back at the inn." But then Aaron's like, "Oh, there's this girl being chased by slavers," and so then he decides to go help him. And he goes complete fucking like edgelord mode. They're like, "Ah, do you want to die, boy?" And he's just like, "I don't care about life. Life is meaningless to me." And he absolutely beats the shit out of the slavers. And then he goes to like help out the girl, and then she's super pissed off at him and just runs off to go find the person that she was walking with. And then eventually, for no reason, this guy he sits at the harbor, with his sword, and then he just sleeps on sleeps on the steps. It's not like you know he had an inn to go to. Oh wait, he did because that's where Sparrowhawk told him that he'd fucking be. So eventually, the slavers come back. They beat the absolute piss out of this dude, and then they take him and make him a slave. But then Sparrowhawk saves him, and then like undoes his, bindings, and along with the bindings of everybody else with magic and shit. And then they're like, all right, let's go find somewhere to lay low. So then he goes to this woman's house. I forget what her fucking name is, but her and Sparrowhawk have a history. I think they're like may have been lovers at one point. It's heavily implied that it's actually very explicitly said that, but you could have me fooled. The woman is clearly very in love with the dude. The guy seems super fucking indifferent, but I mean, he's an archmage. I mean, what do you expect from the guy? So then they're doing farm work, and Sparrowhawk's like, ah, yes, you must be in tune with the land. You know, always know about the changing, balance, equilibrium. You got soft hands, boy. Shit like that. Until eventually he's like, "Yeah, I need to go handle some shit. I'll be back, woman. Take care of this. Take care of this boy for me, please." And she's like, "Okay." And so he goes off, he goes gets Aaron's sword again, and he finds out that the guy he's looking for, that this evil wizard, is actually like a stone's throw away from where he's at. So then he goes to his castle and be like, "Hey, I don't like that." Except he doesn't really go to his castle. He just sends a fucking eagle or hawk or whatever the fuck to go harass the dude as his like calling card. So then that guy sends his, it turns out this the reason that the slavers were actually being controlled by this guy. Like he's the head honcho. So then the slavers then they go find this guy again. They go find the wizard, and yeah, they were very unsuccessful. They rough up the farmhouse a little bit, but they didn't really do all that much. And then eventually they come back and they steal the woman because hey, the, Sparrowhawk is clearly likes this woman, as it's been very explicitly shown us throughout the whole fucking movie. So we're gonna kidnap her and we're gonna take her away. And then in between that, Aaron and then the girl, I forgot what her fucking name is too, but the girl we saved ends up being at that farmhouse, and she's like, "I hate you because you hate life, and you're a mean person." And he's like, "Yeah, I have my own demons." But then they start talking because I guess they both have their own fucking demons. And he just opens up, like, "Yeah, so I killed my dad," which just
Who the fuck starts a conversation like that? I just sat down.
and yeah, so she's like, "Oh, really? You're not that bad of a person, except kind of, yeah, you are." But then the woman gets kidnapped, so then the girl tells Sparrowhawk's like, "Hey, you need to go find you need to go save her. She's at this castle." And he's like, "I know exactly where that castle is. I'm gonna go save her." And then Aaron is once again running away from his demons, and then he gets captured by the big bad, Lord Cobb, and then I think he gets like brainwashed into like telling him his like true name, which is some other random shit, which gives him like full dominion. But then the girl breaks in and saves him because the wizard, upon coming in there, apparently Lord Cobb has a enchantment on the castle that takes away his fucking powers. So then he gets kidnapped too, and then he's about to be fucking executed. But then the girl comes, she snaps Aaron out of the spell, and then he's finally powerful enough to use his father's sword. So then he once again absolutely beats the shit out of the slavers, and then cuts off Cobb's hand. But it's revealed that this guy is like some high level fucking wizard. The goddamn Grand Wizard of Koopa Keep. So he's he turns into fucking goo and then steals the girl and then takes her to like some high tower to then do basically just to kill her and hold her hostage. So then Aaron goes after her. He tries to save her, but it didn't work. She dies because Cobb kills her. But then she comes back to life, and it turns out she's also a fucking dragon. Okay, cool. And then yeah, that's the fucking movie. That's it. That's literally the movie. There's a lot wrong. Obviously, I didn't tell it the best, but still, I feel like I got like pretty much on the money how describing it. Like, there's a lot wrong with this movie, and a lot of it just has to do like nothing's fleshed out. I don't really care about these characters except for Sparrowhawk because he's the only one who isn't a fucking dickhead. And yeah, I just don't care about these characters. I don't care about what they're doing. I don't care about the world they're living in. There's no stakes, and that's kind of what you need in the movie. But yeah, honestly, if this movie was made by Hayao Miyazaki as opposed to his son, this probably would have turned out a lot better. I'm not saying it would have been, great, but it would have at least been a little more cohesive. But, for it's man's first project, I'm not gonna grow him too hard for it. But yeah, that's the end of this tier. We'll get into the other tiers later on in the series of videos. But thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.